Defensive MVP to you.
Defensive MVP. God, this is an easy one, actually. This is an easy one. Can I pull up, Jeff? Can I pull up a tweet for this one?
Yeah.
I want to pull up a tweet here real quick for this one, because I went digging today. I went and started digging for some guys and for some stats. There was one guy, and very underrated performance, and I don't think we're all talking about it enough here. Aiden Hutchinson, though, he has and Anzo. Listen, boys, and I'll let you. Klotz, I'll save Anzo for you. You can have Anzo. Aiden Hutchinson, though, look at this, fellas. Look at this. I tweeted out today, Aiden Hutchinson in the entire NFL, and I know this is like fit my narrative. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive player of the year. No, Aiden Hutchinson was the best pass rusher in the entire NFL this weekend, without a doubt. You guys see it. So I put the stats out. 11 total pressures, first in the entire NFL. And these weren't pressures like, last year he was getting there, wasn't even close. He was putting Matthew Stafford in the worst positions possible. The worst. And then you go down 95.7 PFF pass rush grade. Best in the entire NFL over Max Crosby, over Michael Parsons, over anyone out. He was the best pass rusher in the NFL. 6 quarterback hurries, second in the NFL. 4 quarterback hits, second in the NFL. And he got a sack, which is, there was a couple guys that had 3 and 2 sacks week 1. You know how that goes. Some random jag gets 3 sacks somehow, some way on the side of the road. But Hutch goes out there, and he should have had more than 1 sack. I was going back and looking. This man, like, as an all-pro edge rusher this year, in my opinion, the disrespect he gets from refs, like some of the plays that were put out of him getting face masked, of him getting just tackled when he's about to get Stafford, getting held, getting tripped, is unbelievable. This man should have had at least 3 sacks yesterday, and that is not an over-exaggeration. Like, that is legit. I saw 3 or 4 clips of him getting right to Stafford and then just getting tripped, or getting to Stafford in a tackle, just tackling him. And it's just like, at what point does the NFL step up and do the refs step up and say, hey, this is one of our premier pass rushers. Other guys get these calls, Michael Parsons, Max Crosby, these guys get these calls. What point are we just going to say, hey, let's get this to Hutch? Let's do this. Let's get this to Hutch. And even on top of that, I want to see if I can pull up. I want to pull up one more thing here for you guys, because this Aiden Hutchinson stuff, I'm telling you guys, like, this kid is on a different level. I can't call him a kid. I think he's younger than me. Someone said, Booner, stop calling. If they're younger than you or older than you, don't call him kid. He is younger than me. That is a fact. Okay, that is a fact. All right, I need to share this one more. Hold on. How do I do this? Get this, Booner. Here we go. Last one here. I'm sorry, boys.
All right. No, you're good. Let's see it.
Aiden Hutchinson. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
47.8% pass rush win rate, the highest in the game since 2021. This man was on a different level yesterday. And just because he didn't go out there and finish some of the sacks, he got tripped, he got pushed, he got tackled. This man was the best player on the entire football field yesterday. Offensively, defensively, it was shown. He looked like a Nick Bosa, a TJ Watt, a Micah Parsons. He dominated that game. He dominated. He made Matthew Stafford second-guess everything. And when it came down to it down the stretch, when Matthew Stafford had to make a play, guess who went in there and got the sack and finished it off? Aiden Hutchinson did. So all of you guys said, oh, it was a bad – he shouldn't have had – like, this man is on a different level. He's already should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He was the best all-around football player in the entire Lions-Rams game last night, in my opinion. There are guys like D-Mont who put the game on his back and had the game-winning drive. Guys like Ansel who had 13 tackles and was all over the field. Aiden Hutchinson was an all-pro Defensive Player of the Year yesterday on the field, and that is not a question that anyone could kind of debate there.
Yeah, I mean, he took advantage. They had backup tackles, and he absolutely took advantage. Because if he didn't, people would be talking about it. Like, people would be like, well, why didn't Aiden take advantage of this backup? Well, he just did multiple times. I mean, 47.8% win rate? Like, that's ridiculous. I do agree with you. My MVP to me, and I said this earlier too on our other live stream, that it should be Aiden Hutchinson, because number one, I think the defensive line, defensive end specifically, one of the most important positions in football. You saw that because of how he can affect the quarterback. Matthew Stafford is so good at getting the ball off as quick as he does that sometimes even a guy like Hutch, who gets there so fast, he's not going to be able to get the sack, but he's making his presence known. So I will give him that. He had a hell of a game. He made those guys in the secondary's job easier when he was getting to Matthew Stafford as quick as he did. So Aiden Hutchinson, rightfully so. It's a way to start first game of the year. So I'm with you, Boone. I agree with that.
And you guys both go with Hutch.
Yep. Yeah, and two with Hutch too. He will do this every single game throughout the whole season. Like what we saw out of him yesterday, he will do that. And he already has the 1 sack. He's on pace. Let's just be honest. He's on pace for 17 sacks this season. I know we're 1 game in, but he's going to have multiple sacks games. He's going to go out there, and he is going to lead the NFL in pressures, quarterback hits, pass rush rate, sacks, everything. Like, it's unbelievable what he did yesterday.
I love Hutch. Hutch went out there, dominated. I think you saw his spin move on full display. He was dominating one-on-ones, to Jeff's point, as he should have, because you have second and third string guys in there. But in my opinion, clearly, you saw from the first snap, the defensive MVP yesterday was Alex Anzalone. 13 tackles, 3 behind the line of scrimmage for tackle for loss. And he wasn't just doing it in the run game. He was doing it in the pass game as well. Cooper Kupp motions across the line of scrimmage. They're trying to read the defense so they can see if it's zone or man coverage. Alex Anzalone sniffs out the screen right away and makes sure that the first Rams opening drive goes absolutely nowhere. He was flying around the field. But if there was a tackle, Anzalone was either making it or he was right behind to clean it up if it was a missed tackle. When you look at Alex Anzalone yesterday, he was the fastest player on the defense. And that's the thing with Anzalone. People like, well, I don't know how athletic he is. He's got a limited skill set. If you watch Alex Anzalone at the beginning of last year till now, that is a Pro Bowl linebacker. If you watched him last night, I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro linebacker, but last night he played like he was an all-pro linebacker. The Detroit Lions do not win that game with Alex Anzalone. I think he's one of those guys that is just completely overlooked when you look at all the star power that this defense and offense has. Alex Anzalone is a guy that is swept under the rug constantly. He's just a guy that, again, I don't think he'll have 13 tackles next week, but he's going to be one of the leaders of the defense from week 1 until the Super Bowl. And Alex Anzalone is just one of the most important parts of this team, not just this defense, but this team. Alex Anzalone, for me, is the clear MVP of this defense last night.
Yeah, those two guys, I mean, I'm not even going to be mad. I'm not even mad at the Anzalone pick. It's between those two. And and because of Anzalone, what he was doing everywhere, I don't hate it. You know, Aiden Hutchinson, to what you're saying earlier, Bruno, if he's going to be the best defensive end in football, I think this week against the Bucs, you got to follow that game up with not only a similar game, but you got to get like maybe 2-3 sacks this week. Like get back into that sack column. Just because I know you mentioned the guys, I was just checking real quick because I've been looking around at least the guys this week that impressed. I mean, there are some guys that you're like, who's it? 2 sacks from this guy? But there's a Trayvon Walker who had 2 sacks. Like in Gregory, is it Rousseau?
Rousseau, yeah.
Rousseau from the Bills who just had 3 sacks. So he's got to get this thing going to where he's finishing. And I think he will. I'm not saying he will. I think he will because Matthew, I think, is more of an exception. He just gets rid of the thing so quickly. Like I think Baker, he can go out here this week, even though Baker's a little more mobile. And he can get 2 sacks and get back into that column. Because if we say 15, he's got to have at the minimum just to be in the race. He'll start getting these 2 sack games, which he had last year, by the way. He had multiple sack games.
For sure.
I mean,
I think if Aiden Hutchinson played that game versus 27 out of the 32 different NFL quarterbacks, he probably ends that game with 3 sacks. And it's not even just the fact that he only had 1 sack yesterday, Jeff. It's the fact that in every other edge rushing category, he was top 3. In every other category, he was top 3 in it outside of sacks. And he still had a sack. And he probably could have had 3 if things kind of would have flipped his way and there wasn't all these holdings and you weren't going up against Stafford. So, like, realistically to me, when you just look at broad, like, remember when Michael Parsons last year was talking about TJ Watt shouldn't be defensive player of the year or this, and they were going back and forth at it. TJ Watt's like, I have all these pressures, I have all this. And then Michael Parsons like, well, I have the win rate, pass rush win rate. I have the highest one in the NFL. Guess what? Aiden Hutchinson just went out and got all of those stats, and it was first in both of those stats last night. Like, Aiden Hutchinson dominated in the entire game. I need to go look at his run defense and see kind of that. But for me, it's more so, what is he doing on these pass downs? And just because he didn't get those sacks, like, remember last year, we went through those stretch of games where it was like, he's not getting sacks, but he's getting pressures. And we were all arguing, like, well, at what point do you need the sacks? He got the sack last night, and he had the most pressures, the highest win percentage, and some of the most quarterback hits in the entire NFL. Top 3. So this guy should be in that conversation. And I'm with you, Jeff. Like next week, go out there and get 2 or 3. Go out there and be in it. And I don't care if the people in the chat, I don't care if it was against a backup offensive line. He still did it. Like he still went out there and did it. And he looked dominant. And shout out to Alex Anzalone too. I have something on Anzo later.
Yeah, it's not like when they hold up the defensive play, when they hand out the award, they're like, well, he did play against an offensive tackle that was a backup in week 1. Like, they don't really.
Yeah, guys are going to go up against backups all season long. Like, it's just going to happen.